Welcome to Module 8, which is all about chemical reactions. So what I'm going to do now is try to talk a little bit less about the theory and some more about the practical applications and give you some actual examples of different chemical reactions that might take place. Okay, so let's start out by looking at different parts of the periodic table and seeing how different elements in the periodic table are known to react with each other. So let's start out by looking at alkali metals. Okay, so alkali metals, remember, are things like lithium, sodium, potassium, etc. Okay. Alkali metals can react with a number of different substances. Okay, for example, they can react with halogens, things like fluorine or chlorine or bromine or iodine, to make halides. Okay, so just as a specific example, maybe I have something like sodium reacting with Cl2, chlorine gas, to give me NaCl, sodium chloride. Notice that this is not balanced. Okay, I'm not trying to balance these for you. I just want to show you what's going on. Alkali metals can also react with hydrogen gas to give me hydrides. Okay, so as an example, maybe sodium plus H2 can combine to give me sodium hydride. Now, these alkali metals can also react with oxygen, but the way that they react with oxygen is a little bit different depending on what's going on. Okay, lithium can react with oxygen to make lithium oxide plus a little bit of lithium peroxide. If I take sodium, same group, right, alkali metal, and react it with O2, you would think that because they're in the same group, they would react similarly, and I would also form sodium oxide. But actually, most of what I form is sodium peroxide, Na2O2, rather than Na2O. And if I take elements that are further down in the alkali metals, like potassium or rubidium or cesium, and react with oxygen, they actually form superoxides, okay, so KO2, where the oxidation number for the oxygen is actually -0.5 instead of -1 or -2. Last thing I want to show you here is that alkali metals can also react with water. And please, don't try this at home, okay? A lot of these reactions are pretty violent. You can have these big explosions. But if you take metals, like sodium or potassium, and you sort of toss them in water, they're going to form hydroxides, like potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide, and at the same time also release hydrogen gas, H2. Next thing that can happen is, let's look at the alkaline earth metals. So alkaline earth metals are the next level in the periodic table. These are things like magnesium or calcium, strontium, barium, things like that. Okay, and so a lot of these reactions are similar to the ones for alkali metals. Okay, they can react with halogens to give you halides. Okay, and so for example, maybe calcium plus bromine will give me calcium bromide. Here's a new one. Okay, these can react with nitrogen to give me nitrides. Okay, so just as an example, magnesium can react with nitrogen to give me magnesium nitride. Or they can react with oxygen to give me oxides, okay, just like before with the alkali metals. So maybe, for example, calcium plus oxygen gives me calcium oxide. And they can also react with water, just like the alkali metals did. Okay, so for example, magnesium in water reacts to give me magnesium oxide plus H2. But if I look at the other elements in that group, okay, the alkaline earth metals that are below magnesium, they react a little bit differently. And so what will happen here is they're going to form hydroxides instead of oxides, but still release hydrogen gas.